Welcome into room 442. Mikey Singh, Sarah Pararia joining you, and you know what that means. TFC. TFC are in action this weekend at home, March 11th. They are hosting Columbus Crew. Mikey, it's Thursday. We're about 48 hours just over from the home opener.
Home opener.
How excited are you?
It's weird. It feels like the off season never really finished, to be honest with you. It hasn't really felt like a true off season. I think maybe because of the World Cup going on, and we were just so busy here, and training camp seemed to pick up right after the World Cup ended. So, it is all like, listen, home openers are fun, right? The crowds are getting back out there for the first time. They're going to be seeing a different looking Toronto FC team that they've saw, last season. It's exciting.
Yeah, I looked at the weather ahead. Yeah. It's going to be a cold one for the fans, especially. I think it said -7, feels like -11. We know what BMO Field's like, right by the water. Yeah. The wind can pick up. Do you expect this to be a sold-out game?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think attendance-wise, TFC have actually done pretty well, even last season. And like I said, it's the first game of the season. Fans are going to be looking forward to seeing guys like Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi. They want to come out and support this team, and this team's fan bases. I mean, they're I don't want to say second to none because there are a lot of good fan bases in MLS, but they have to be like right up there. So yeah, I definitely expect a sold-out crowd, and the vibes will be good, Sarah.
Okay, I hope you're right. The beers will be flowing.
The beers will be flowing for sure.
Speaking about Lorenzo Insigne, we spoke, I think now 2 days ago. You were at training. The good news was that we saw Lorenzo joining training again after he picked up an injury in their first match. Do you think he will be fit enough to play, starting, coming off the bench? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mentioned this. I'm getting texts from people all over asking, hey, is Lorenzo Insigne going to be playing on Saturday? Because he still has that pull among TFC fans. I know things haven't really gone quite to plan since joining Toronto, but for a casual Toronto supporter, that's still the guy who they want to come and they want to see. So he's been in training with the team since Tuesday. He's done it every single day. For me, I get the impression that not only will he play minutes here for Toronto FC on Saturday, I'm going to go out on a limb. I think he's going to start for Toronto FC. I'm getting that vibe. I'm getting that feeling. We'll see exactly what Bob Bradley decides. We'll get confirmation tomorrow.
Sure.
But I think there's something there.
I do think he will be making an appearance. Now, whether that's coming off the bench or starting, I'm a little bit torn because I don't think they are going to want to potentially further an injury or just prolong.
Well, that's a good point. Let me ask you, like, because it's the home opener, because it's the first game of the season, fans are going to be seeing this team at home for the first time. Do you think there's like an added pressure for Toronto FC to play Lorenzo Insigne?
For sure. Like, do you remember last season when we actually went to the Insigne welcome party or whatever?
Cafe Dip, shout out.
I mean, it was bananas down there. And then the first game, everyone was there to see. Half of Vaughan was there from
half of Woodbridge.
Yeah, because, all the Italians were coming. So absolutely, he brings so much attention to this team, him and Fede for sure. European players, Serie A players, Italian national team players. There's no doubt.
Do you think that affects their decision, though? Do you think they...
I don't think it should.
I don't think it should.
It absolutely should not. Bob Bradley is a very interesting guy. Wouldn't, put it past him. But he's also a very well-respected coach, and I think he knows what decision should be made.
I think if there's like a 5% chance he's not okay, they're not playing him.
I would hope so. But I think here's what you do. I think you bring him, you put him on the pitch, warming up with everyone, get him there. And he's 100% on the squad, and he's sitting in the bench. But whether or not you play him, I don't know.
Depends on how the game goes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he has to be there. He has to be in the colors with the boots on, just to give the fans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about then who is going to play if we don't see Insigne start, because we know the injury problem at TFC is not great right now. Akinola, injured.
Yep.
So who comes into the front? I know we spoke a couple days ago that maybe it could be Bernardeschi. Do you think that's what they're going to do because it's also a home opener and you kind of want to give him some of the attention up front?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So yeah, Diomande and Akinola are both missing out because of a hamstring injuries. Both of them hamstring tightness is what the team was calling it initially. We'll get an update from Bob Bradley tomorrow again. I think DeAndre Kerr might be a name that we see up top, and I don't think he's actually played much minutes up top. But I feel like his type of profile, and I know the team is really high on DeAndre Kerr, I feel like that fits sort of what they need right now at that number 9 position, assuming Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi also play. Because what they need at that position right now are, a guy who's going to be willing to make runs in behind. And when you look at the roster, there's not a ton of people that you can say are going to be willing to do that. I think DeAndre Kerr is one of those guys. But also, B, you need someone who's going to be willing to do the dirty work off the ball when you're not in possession. Because when you do have Lorenzo Insigne and you do have Federico Bernardeschi, as good as he was with helping out his team defensively, those guys aren't being paid to win the ball back. You need to find a guy who can help you do that. And I think DeAndre Kerr can help initiate a lot of that. So I think, even though he's not a natural striker and they have other natural strikers on the roster, I think it's going to be DeAndre Kerr.
And you're saying that's if Lorenzo Insigne plays, it'll be the 3 of them up top?
I think so.
And if Insigne doesn't start?
If Insigne doesn't start, that's a great question. I think we see something closer to what we saw last week when you had Jonathan Osorio playing on the left mid, you had Brandon Cervania on the right mid, and then you had Federico Bernardeschi up top, and then maybe with DeAndre Kerr as well. So, a little couple of variations you can throw at it. Bob Bradley has shown, despite, a narrative going around that he can't get away from his 4-3-3, he's shown he's been willing to. And if Insigne is out again, I think he needs to be flexible and be adaptable to doing something different.
Yeah. Well, let's shift our attention to Columbus Crew. The new manager, Wilfred Nancy, former manager of CF Montreal.
Yeah.
Toronto knows him very well. What are you looking at when you see Columbus coming to BMO Field this weekend? You covered them last weekend. What is it important to know about this team?
Yeah, that's a great point. So Wilfred Nancy, first of all, like you said, knows Toronto very well, and Toronto knows him very well. And what Toronto knows about Wilfred Nancy is that he's a coach that likes to have possession and likes to be in control of games. This Columbus Crew side, they had a tough start, but that was away to Philadelphia, which we know is probably the best team in Major League Soccer this year. And playing at Subaru Park, it's not easy. So they lost 4-1 that day. They actually had a decent first half. They bounced back in a big way, beating DC United, the team that Toronto FC lost to. They pretty handily, and that was at home though. So 2-0 at home. Again, Wilfred Nancy after the game wasn't actually that happy with his team's performance because they didn't control the game that he wanted in the way that he wanted them to control the game. So while they got the result, and on paper, on the score sheet, it looks like they're bouncing back, I'm not sure they're quite yet at the point where they've adapted to Wilfred Nancy yet. So I think they're going to be, if you're TFC, you're going to be expecting a hungry squad that's going to be motivated to instill what they want to instill. This is a long-term project, obviously, for Wilfred Nancy, and I think he's going to keep working towards being that team that controls possession, which should make for an interesting battle because that's also what TFC wants to do. So I guess we'll see what exactly happens there.
Yeah, no kidding. What is your prediction Saturday night?
It's so tough. Like, this TFC team is such a tough team to get a read on right now. Maybe a draw, but historically TFC I think are 8-2-6 in home openers. So they win more of their home openers than they lose. Maybe that's the added boost that they need. And speaking of Matt Hedges today, like, he was telling me that when you're playing at home, for whatever reason, he couldn't really give me a reason why it's so much more difficult to go on the road than it is to play at home. But you do naturally get that extra boost, and especially at BMO Field for a home opener, hopefully the fans give the team the lift that they need to propel them to victory. I think it might be a draw, though, because Columbus still is a threat in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will see what happens. March 11th, TFC welcomes Columbus Crew to BMO Field, 7:30 p.m. Get your hot cocoa and your gloves because you're going to need it.